Welcome to Money in Motion by Trade the Chain. If you want more from CJ and Monte, subscribe to Trade the Chain and get access to the TTC community Discord, weekly futures reports, AI-driven cryptocurrency sentiment indicators, and other exclusive content. For a 14-day free trial, visit tradethechain.com or visit the link in the video description.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to another edition of Money in Motion. Quite the move overnight. Monte and I were just discussing before the show, the move from like 32.5 to 35K was really, really explosive. And it seemed like you just had one or like a few really large shorts at that level that just got blown out, that had to get their stops hit. And then, you know, the spread was they probably lost like $2,000 on like that stop getting hit at market. So yeah, over $100 million of short liquidations last night, really sending us up like 7,000 over the past, couple days. So a lot of people sidelined, I'm sure. Lots of interesting stuff to talk about. But Monty, what's up?
Bitcoin's up and I'm feeling pretty good about it. And I just want to say quickly what is up to everyone in the chat. What is up, Mike, Keith, Ryan, Phoenix, Ross? Hope you're all doing very well. It's a beautiful day here in Chicago too. So not only do we have some nice price action to talk about, but the weather here is really nice as well. So my mood is quite good. Charts are looking good. Can't ask for a lot more than that.
It's all downhill from here.
Look at Gina. She says, she calls me out on it immediately as I'm admitting to it. I love how your attitude changes when the market moves. Smiles for days. Yeah. I mean, listen.
One of us, at least.
Yeah, me. I do all smiling on this show. CJ just is the more stoic one, but
anger is just always angry.
Or the angry one. Angry, stoic. I don't know. Anyways, let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart. Because this thing has been absolutely moving. And I talked about it with some members of our Discord last night. 35K is a significant hurdle for Bitcoin. And I think we're going to need a pretty significant catalyst to get above this level. Now, that being said, a significant catalyst doesn't have to be news related, doesn't have to be some fundamental, like breaking news. For me, what I'm watching very closely is, and CJL changes so you don't yell at me.
I actually looked at it last night and it was actually pretty similar. It was only in the periods of like the lowest of volume where Bitstamp wasn't actually mirroring a lot of the others, but I take it back. My bad.
I appreciate that. But anyways, looking at Binance, like, one thing that we always say, right? There's not a whole lot of leading indicators in crypto. Most things are lagging indicators. But when you look at volume, I think that can definitely be used as a leading indicator. And we still have 10 hours left in today's candle. I feel like I've said that like probably 5 out of the last 10 episodes. And, each time we eclipse the previous day's candle in terms of volume, we tend to break higher. Now, yesterday, of course, was a tremendous move. Like CJ said, we made that move from like went from 30K to, all the way up to 34, 35. I was getting notifications left and right on my phone. I was like watching a movie and I'm just like, oh my God, Bitcoin's going up through 32, through 33, through 34. I'm like, oh, wow, this is absolutely crazy. But we clearly have a significant hurdle here at 35, right? That's what these wicks are indicative of. And I think what's going to be really important today is two things, and two things that I'm going to be watching very closely. First and foremost, like I mentioned, the volume. Going to be watching this closely, making sure that we don't kind of start to wane in terms of volume and we see this drop off. If we're unable to eclipse yesterday's volume, I think that would be cause for concern in the short to intermediate term. Still am bullish with the whole ETF on the horizon. I think it's more, you know, I still don't think that's fully priced in to any extent. People were saying it was priced in here, and now we're all the way up here. It's not priced in. When the news hits, expect price to really move, because it's moving even without that. So
I think we're at the point now where you could probably sell a good amount if the ETF announcement actually did occur, because we've had a pretty substantial lead up into price. Like if the ETF news is going to kick off a new bull run and we were doing nothing, I would probably disagree. But I could see that forming maybe a potential blow off top in the short term, kind of retrace.
yeah,
Realistic flows go into the actual ETF, and then you have retail getting more involved, closer to the halving date. The weird thing is I really haven't had any of my friends hit me up about Bitcoin. Like there's one who made a good trade and he was like the outlier. So I'm really happy for him. But other than that, this has been a very quiet move up until yesterday.
right. It does feel like it's a very, like, who's participating in this move, right? Is it just like we've talked about how there's like
the shorts.
Yeah, the shorts getting squeezed definitely is playing a role. There's no doubt about that. And we can look at that data in a minute, but I think you're right. Like, this doesn't feel like we're at the point yet where the retail wave has come in and started speculating. That's when we get the blow off top, right? Not when you have Paul Tudor Jones coming in last week saying Bitcoin's a good buying opportunity. That to me is very reminiscent of 2020 and, the lead up into that blow off top. So for me, it's like right now, it just feels like, oh, that's funny.
I wanted to see it real quick.
Oh, I thought
it's all right. It's all right. People are just paying extra for quality. It doesn't matter. The funding rates are positive. They're paying for quality.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
It's the most hypocritical thing to say ever. I do kind of believe it, though, honestly.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about funding rates, and that was the second piece of my variable or of my puzzle that I'm putting together here, is keep an eye on the funding rate. Like if it gets too negative, or if it gets too positive, and we start seeing this maybe reaching around 0.1%, then I think we're in the danger zone. Just watched Top Gun Maverick the other day, by the way. Great movie. But then I think we're in the danger zone if we reach 0.1% on the overall funding rate. I'd watch Binance most closely.
I think the thing that I think is fairly predictable if we continue running here is that we will inevitably have some type of like crash liquidation in a 15-minute candle. You clear out all of this funding, and then people bid it back up, and it goes back up. I love Archer as well. Vincentini. Monte.
Wait, wow, really, Chris, no way you watch Archer. No way. He gets the danger zone. Danger zone.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite show for the past 6 years now. But anyways,
just when I thought I couldn't like Chris anymore, he goes ahead and drops an Archer reference. Man, Chris, you're the man. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at 2019, there's a lot of instances where like Bitcoin goes up 20%. And obviously Bitcoin has less implied vol these days, but if you look at the relationship in like 2019, you'd have these really large moves like what we're having now, and then you'd have these wicks down where they just flush all the leverage shorts out. So that's why I think just if you're in, like, I ideally, I like spot positions from lower levels, because like it's almost impossible to jump in a 10x levered or a 5x levered position here. Like you just be chasing. But anyways, I'd like to get to some actionable like setups.
Because
some of the chat.
Yeah, there's definitely some actionable setups. Like you said in the title here, best crypto assets to buy. I think this is like where the point, since we're hitting resistance in Bitcoin, I think we're going to start to see a lot of alts play catch up, and make some really nice moves. What are your thoughts on the altcoin market in general, and what assets do you have an eye on as Bitcoin, made a really nice move last night?
Yeah, so I think that maybe not today or soon, but I do think eventually, whether it even has to go down to this level here, like ETH BTC is going to be a buy, but it just hasn't had, like ETH hasn't really had the rotation yet. So that's one that I would look at, but not really strongly considering it. Crypto, what's up?
Could you put the ETH USD chart?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want exposure to ETH, I know like people are, talking about like, oh, you're going to get this outperformance where Bitcoin's going to pull back. But I still think the remote event risk of that iShares ETF approval makes the ETH BTC pair a very risky trade. Like you have this overhead looming remote event risk that's going to lead to Bitcoin outperforming and thus ETH BTC plummeting. But ETH will rise on the back of an ETF approval, right? So it's not like the underlying asset itself is gonna fall. So I was talking about this at the end of last week, but I went ahead and opened up just a spot ETH position because one, I think it's lagging behind Bitcoin and is going to start to play catch up, but two, I think it's kind of the better means of exposure than ETH BTC. What are your thoughts on that? Oh, you're muted.
My bad, homies. Anyways,
Homies.
yeah, I'm not buying it yet, right? But we're looking for places where chain reactions could happen or where capital can flow. We want to service the people who may have been sidelined, so they have a purpose of watching this video. So yeah, now this isn't something. It's kind of like gold the other week, and I'm not saying ETH's going to go straight up the way that gold did, but we weren't buying gold when it was crashing. You wait for it to kind of turn around and have a reversal candle. And if ETH BTC does that, then maybe it's time to consider flipping a bit to ETH or flipping a bit to some of the other altcoins that have performed with high volume. Just speculation. I don't own any yet, but I want to move to the next one.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so I want to talk about a quick trading strategy.
Yes, we were both talking about this morning. That was weird because I was reading this last night, and then you put that in the chat, and I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty.
Wait, you actually are reading this book?
Yeah. Well, I'm listening.
All right.
On Audible. I know there's some people that think that's not reading, but I can listen and comprehend. Okay.
That's interesting because I was looking for the book at the start of the summer, and
it's on Audible now, or it's on
paperback.
YouTube. It's on YouTube for free. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyways, that's funny. I thought you didn't like Niederhofer because he was too preppy. He plays squash. You didn't like that.
Hey, I didn't realize how good he was at squash, but he is like, I saw videos of him playing. He is the world's most dangerous game. Or no, that's highlight. But squash.
Yeah, squash ain't no joke.
No, those balls are. What is this made out of? Concrete.
Man, this is a show for Chris and Adam. Anyways, how does this strategy apply to where we're currently at? Okay, so Niederhofer, this is like the 1980s, 1990s, Chicago, SIBO. When I first started speculating in markets, I quickly ran a 40K stake into 22 million. My technique was simple. I bought gold at 290. Each time it went up $10, I pyramided and added it to my holdings with my profits. Livermore actually did the same thing with like these railroad companies in, I believe it was like the 1915s, where he watched this one stock rise for months from like 70, slowly crept up to 80. Then finally, when it hit 90, that's when he went like all in. And, it ended the day, probably like a day or two later, trading at 114. It closed. So how does that apply to the assets we're looking at now? I like, you think about it like Coinbase. The last time we went to these levels where, we're basically knocking on the door of 91, we get very close. Back in July, we're sitting on, 90. And then in one day, we go from, 90 all the way to high 100s or 108. So the point is, a lot of stuff that will go to 90 or will go to 900. It usually goes to 1,000 or 100. Like it has that kind of psychological pull. We'll see if that has it in, Coinbase and Bitcoin. But seeing now that some of the crypto equities are starting to wake up, and we do have earnings coming up in a couple weeks. It's known coin has like 9,000 Bitcoins on their balance sheet, so it should be good. But regardless, like this same idea of like going to 90, it's probably going to have a high likelihood of going to 100 very, very quickly, even though it may seem like a risky trade because it's already moved so much. I'd actually be more comfortable like buying into that momentum. Now, there's a couple different ways you can execute it. I don't know if we'll agree on the different ways to do it. But like obviously calls at like 100 is like the thing you would think about. But I mean, I would also just buy leverage shares on margin. If you're looking at like a short-term trade where risk is defined, but I mean, I don't really
when you have a target like that of $100, like you said, and like stocks typically move psychologically towards that, get pulled towards that number. I think that is exactly when you want to, go ahead and maybe take a risk on an out of the money call, buy that $100 strike price. I think it could hit it by end of week. And that's not even an exaggeration. What do you think about in terms of like time horizon?
We need NASDAQ to go up. That's the main thing with these crypto equities. I was
true.
I'm not going to say what I was getting, but
why not?
Because I'm a bit, all right, let's just look at this coin BTC chart. So until yesterday, that's why I was angry on yesterday's show. And Monte was like happy.
I was happy because you were angry.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know, whatever.
No, I was just happy because Bitcoin was pumping, and
it's good to see the space recover. I hope you got it makes me happy, hearing that maybe some of you guys made some money on this move and then can actually, use that to improve your lives or to have more freedom, or to go on vacation, whatever makes you happy. Really, it's all about freedom, to me at the end of the day. So I hope that
100%. And before we wrap things up, I do want to give a shout out to you again, CJ. I think it's deserved. But one thing that you get access to if you try out Trade the Chain for 14 days is our Discord community. And CJ and I publish trade insights quite regularly, usually about 1 or 2 per week. So, we've talked extensively about the Swiss franc and how it's been a great safe haven asset during the uncertainty in the Middle East. But also, take a look at CJ's tweet here on October 15th. Buying Bitcoin here at 27K.
Read the bottom text. Read the justification for buying.
Twitter is bearish and afraid. That's all that in itself is such good justification. But
it's only justification if price starts moving in the other direction. Right. Once, as you can see there, there was no reason to buy into that downtrend unless it started getting bid.
Yeah,
so you can see that little white candle creeping up, and people came in after that.
Yeah, and you had some very nicely defined risk reward. So, really well done on that trade. And we continue to pump out trades just like that. Nick also sharing his insights in the Discord, so you don't want to miss those. But that's all I got for today. Love all the participation in chat. Really, truly thank you guys all for participating. Who would have thought that all it took was a little 5K bump in price and we'd have some nice participation and viewership back. But I love it. Love hearing from all you guys. Love hearing your comments, what you're trading. And if you have any final questions, feel free to drop them in the chat before we wrap things up. But CJ, I'll pass it back to you to close out the show.
There was one thing I was thinking about in terms of one of our viewers said, I believe it was Phoenix, something about the DXY, but DXY going up today, would that be bad for Bitcoin or something? Yeah, I mean, it still is kind of, it still is on the lower high. So we'll see. We'll see what happens ultimately. But, NASDAQ's up today too. So there are times when the normal rules don't apply. And in fact, I think when the normal rules don't apply and when you have these forced liquidation events, it actually creates the most opportunity. It's like gold the other week. Like that was a complete correlation breakdown. Same with Swiss franc. Like they decoupled from the other currencies and risk assets and they just went up because there's a lot of shorts and, very similar thing with Bitcoin. So there are times when the normal rules don't apply.
All right. Well, I think
all right. It's time to wrap it up.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up there. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. And we will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Take care and happy trading.
Thank you for watching Money in Motion. If you want more from Monte and CJ, subscribe to Trade the Chain and get access to the TTC community Discord, weekly futures reports, AI-driven cryptocurrency sentiment indicators, and other exclusive content. For a 14-day free trial, visit tradethechain.com or visit the link in the video description. Thank you.